And it's just basketball. At the end of the day, it's just basketball.
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe on the way in the door, my people. I hope you all are having a truly, truly fantastic day today. So the other day I was watching ESPN and they were doing a segment on comparing LeBron James' Lakers years to Michael Jordan's Wizards years. And which is completely ridiculous because whenever sports shows do these comparisons, they leave out such vital information. And not only that, you know they do it simply to try to give LeBron a legacy boost by talking about his false longevity and how great he's playing on the juice and with the freedom of movement and with the not playing defense. You know, they never talk about those things. They never talk about how there were just less points being scored during Michael Jordan's Wizards years. There were less points available because the NBA on average was scoring less points at that time. You know, they always leave out a lot of key information. You know, they never ever bring up the fact that, you know, Michael Jordan was dealing with injury during his Wizards years. Yeah, you know, they just leave all the critical details out when they're doing these comparisons. However, another thing they talked about during that segment was LeBron James and Steph Curry will be going for their 5th championship this year, and talked about the possibilities of that, which we all know is 0. But just the statement alone, and this will be a short video, but just the statement alone just got me thinking, like, that's an interesting statement to make, that LeBron James and Steph Curry will be going for their 5th championship this year. Now, why is that an interesting statement to make? Because I think to myself, for someone who's supposed to be the GOAT, for someone who you constantly hear the narratives about how they dominated their era, it's pretty ironic that somebody in your era, more importantly, someone who actually came in a few years after you, has just as many championships and really has just as much acclaim to the era of being dominant as you do. That this so-called GOAT contender, someone who's in the supposedly in the GOAT conversation, seems to have a legitimate contender as well in his era. And it got me thinking, you know, this is not the case with Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan's period of dominance, there was no one else who was, we never would have heard on ESPN, well, Michael Jordan and Karl Malone will be competing for their 6th championship. There was no other player who came in Michael Jordan's draft class or after who during Michael Jordan's era had any kind of claim to being as dominant as he had any kind of claim to winning as many championships as he had. And, you know, you could talk about the GOAT conversation in lots of different ways. And again, you know, to me, Michael Jordan is the clear choice, just in terms of checking the boxes in all categories. You know, with everybody else, they can't check the boxes in all categories, whether you're talking about Kareem or Russell, you know, or Magic or Bird. You know, no one checks the boxes in all categories like Michael Jordan. But even if you want to just isolate it to, okay, who was most dominant in their era? Well, even with Bill Russell, again, we all know that, number one, Bill Russell had lots of great teammates. Like, Bill Russell had Hall of Fame teammates he played with, you know. this is why fanboys like to try to bring up Havlicek all the time. And we know that there were only 10 teams in the era, and that a lot of times the Celtics at that time would get the bye, you know, for having the best record. So it was only 2 rounds of playoffs for them in a lot of cases. So we know that. So to me, if you want to talk about having the claim to just being the most dominant in your era, LeBron James still falls way short. He still falls way short. And then the other thing is, you know, aside from Curry rivaling him in championships, there's just been too many questions during the LeBron James era of other players being as great as he is or being as good as he is. You know, from Steph Curry to Kevin Durant. You know, there are a lot of people, and we all know definitely from a skill-wise, Kevin Durant is absolutely greater than LeBron James. We all know that during the playoffs, during the finals, Kevin Durant absolutely outplayed LeBron James 100%. There's no question about that. So again, these are other things that, you know, reasons that LeBron James should not be anywhere near the GOAT conversation. You know, with Michael Jordan, there again, with his draft class and moving forward, you know, there was no other players during the time who were, people were saying, oh, well, maybe he's better than Michael. He might be better than Michael. There was none of that going on. Like, Michael Jordan was the definitive best player in the league. And there were players who came along who they said, hey, maybe this guy will get to be greater than Jordan. You know, maybe he's going to take the throne from Jordan at some point. You know, even talking about your Shaquille O'Neal's when he came in on the Magic, talking about Kobe Bryant when he came in the league. And we know there were various next Jordans, like people like Harold Miner and whatnot. But there was never a point during Jordan's reign where there was an argument about who was the best in the league at the time. That didn't happen with Michael Jordan. It's happened, you know, numerous times in LeBron James' career. And, you know, and before LeBron James made the decision that sealed his fate legacy-wise, you know, after Kobe Bryant won those back-to-back championships, proving that he could win as the definitive guy without Shaq, you know, Kobe Bryant was the one talked about in the GOAT conversation. Again, a lot of you fanboys, you guys try so hard to deny this, to not want to believe it, you know, listening to people like Nick Wright and stuff. Hey, fanboys, here's the thing, is we lived through this. This is the thing that you guys will never have a leg up on, is people who grew up in the 90s. We saw Jordan's career. We saw Kobe Bryant's career. And we saw your false king's career. Like, we are making judgment from actually seeing and living through the times. And when Kobe Bryant won those back-to-back championships, it was indeed Kobe Bryant being talked about in the GOAT conversation. And for the majority of your king's career, well, maybe not at this point because he refuses to retire, but Kobe Bryant was the guy. He was definitely the guy when LeBron James came in 2003. Kobe Bryant was definitely seen as better than LeBron James. And LeBron James, in several interviews, admitted as much. He outright said that Kobe was the better player. So fanboys, this is out of the mouth of your king. And definitely after Kobe's back-to-back championships, again, Kobe was the one being compared to Michael Jordan. It was Kobe in the GOAT conversation. It wasn't until LeBron James formed his super team and won his first fake championship that the narrative started to switch, and then they started capping, and then somehow they just leapfrogged him past Kobe Bryant through narratives alone. So yeah, LeBron James during his so-called reign, he's had several players that had an argument to be better than he was. And this is something you can't say about Michael Jordan. Again, nobody in Michael Jordan's draft class or who came after, where was that ever a time where there was a serious conversation about, oh, is Barkley better than Jordan? Barkley thought he was better than Jordan. We didn't. There was never a time where that happened. And most importantly, there was never a time in Michael Jordan's career where another player, where you could say another player had the same amount of championships as Michael Jordan did. Michael Jordan had a clear decade of dominance that was uncontested by anyone. But anyway, we gonna hold up here. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like I said, I was just checking out ESPN, and when they said that LeBron James and Steph Curry going for their 5th championship, I was just thinking, like, the so-called GOAT? the so-called GOAT is another player is competing for the same amount of championships as the so-called GOAT, and this player came in a few years after the so-called GOAT. This player has been playing less years than the so-called GOAT and has just as many championships. Again, yeah, there's a serious case to be made that Steph Curry should be ranked above LeBron James for a few reasons. That Steph Curry, to me, actually has 2 legitimate championships. And what I mean by that is the 2 championships he won without Kevin Durant is greater than any of LeBron's championships, including 2016 to me. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. You all have a truly, truly fantastic day, and I'll see you next time. All right.